Okay, so question 1, which was this: Q data is a Q, stores at 20 string values. Q is a start pointer and an end pointer. So this isn't asking it for it to be an object-oriented programming. So I'm going to show you a solution without having to use OOP. So we're going to make our Q. So that's our Q just been made. Our start pointer, our end pointer. End of. That's it. We're not making nodes. We don't need to make any nodes for this. It's just an array of 20 with a start and end pointer. So write the function for enqueue. For enqueue, we've got to do if the element is successfully added, return true. If the queue is full and the item could not be added, return false. Each time it's successfully added, the function updates the pointers. Easy. I'm going to do this at the top. I'm going to call it def on queue. Our data, our queue data, and end pointer. If the end pointer equals 20, return false and end pointer. We're full. Else, data end pointer becomes our new data. We need to increment end pointer and then return true and our new end pointer position. So if I call enqueue, we're passing in some data. Let's just do num. Let's do let's do data equals high. So we're gonna have data, our queue data, and end pointer, and we're returning a result and end pointer. So we pass in all our information. It checks to see what number the end pointer is. If it's full, return false. Otherwise, put the data inside the queue, increment by 1, and return true and the end pointer. It's important that we return the end pointer because of this. We make it go up by 1, so we want it to be returned to the main code. So if we look at how simple the question was, again, nothing to do with object-oriented programming, nothing to do with next pointer, etc. All we need is to keep it simple. That's what it's giving us. Simple version. Write program code for a function called readFile, which will ask the user to input a file name, reads the data from the text file into QData. Fine. The function returns some values. All of the data is successfully read. It returns value 2. If a queue is full, returns 1. If a text file can't be found, returns -1. Okay, that's quite a lot of little things we've got to do there. So let's get to it. Boom. Right. Def read file QData, start pointer, end pointer. File name equals input, enter file name. Okay. So let's do try with open file name, read. Oops, as far. Let's just see if we can take a lot. What is it that is wanting us to do again? I can't remember. But as we use the input file name, reads the data from a text file into a queue. Okay, so what we're going to use now, okay, what I'm going to quickly do is just add an except so that we've got no errors, so the file doesn't exist. Except hi. I'm going to put some code in with in a minute. I'm going to call read file. Okay, so we're ready to use this. What I'm going to do is I'm now going to get a line from the file. Line equals file.readLine. We're not putting it into an array, putting it into a variable. I'm now going to very simply loop through the file, but before I loop through the file, I'm going to make another variable called flag. I'm going to call it true. While flag equals true and line. So this is basically saying whilst we still got text in our line, it's true. So if I've got, this is my text file, I've got text, so line will be true. There's content in there. If I've got nothing in there, it'll be false, so it won't loop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call enqueue. We made enqueue for a reason, so we need to use it. A lot of you in the exam didn't actually use it, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to call it, but I'm not going to put data in, it's going to be line. QData endpointer. And it returns, remember, either true or false, and the endpointer, so we need this again. So we're going to do result. Actually, we call it flag. So we're going to call it flag, and we're going to have endpointer. So I zoom out. There we go. So if we run through this, let's imagine that our endpoint is 20. It will return false, which means our loop will stop. I'm then going to do another line equals file.readLine. Yes, I should be stripping as well, but I'm not bothering. You should strip. Let's get rid of the /n. You should have to do that. Okay. Now, at the end of this, if flag equals true, which means all good, we managed to add things to it. Then what we're going to do is we're going to close the file, and then we're going to return. Let me just go back to the exam question. Oh, okay, let's change this again. Yeah, and return 2. Else, file.close, return 1. Because if flag is false, so what will happen? It will return 1, it will quit this loop, and it will return 1 at the end. If the file's not been found, down here in except, it'll be returned -1. And then what we need is like result equals and print result. So if I run this now, let's see what breaks. I hit run, enter file name, test.txt, it returns 2. It returns 2 because it's managed to add to the array. Let's just fill this up. Fine. Returns 1 because it's now full. And there we go. It would be very useful that actually we don't just return to 1 and -1, I also need to update the end pointer again. So I'm going to return end pointer, because it's only local to this function, because we would have updated the end pointer, because if you think about it, it goes from main code to read file to onQ. onQ, it screws around the end pointer, returns back to here, but then we want to return it back to the main code. So I need, what's the order? Results, and then, excuse me, end pointer. Okay, so we've done that bit. Okay, the main program calls read file, and then it outputs the appropriate message. This is easy. It's just based on the 1, 2, and -1. So watch. If result equals 1, print Q, what's the message? Was full. And if result equals 2, print all items were added to the queue, else as in -1, print the text file cannot be found. Boom. So we're getting the results of this. I'm doing it in the main code. How can we tell? Because it tells us here. The program calls read file. Read file outputs an appropriate message to identify if, boom, boom, boom. So that'd be the results of read file. Some of you did it in read file, but really it was looking for you to do it outside of the function and do it in the main code. Hence why we're returning these values here in the first place. The previous question does say return. So what's the point of returning 1 to -1 if we're not going to use it? Keep that in your brain. Okay, I'm not going to do the next bit, because the next bit is just to prove that it's all working. What you should have done is done a different screenshot for each one of these. I think one of these will break it. So every single one of you should have done this one, because you don't need to create a file. It's to recognize that the file doesn't exist. So if I was to do this now, and I was testing it, I'll go run, and it says enter file name, and I typed in thirdData.txt. The text file. Why do I have hi? Where the heck's hi come from? Oh. Third text.whatever txt. Text file cannot be found. That is what you print screen. You should. Everyone should have got that bit. Okay. The function remove removes the first 2 elements from the queue, concatenates the elements with a space in between, and returns the concatenated string. Interesting. So let's make a function called remove. Let's just bring this all together. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide that for now. And I'm going to hide onQ for now. So just tidy up my code. So we need the queue data, start pointer, end pointer. Let's call it down here. Remove. And inside of it, it wants us to get rid of the first 2. Well, first of all, we want to see whether or not we've got 2 items to actually remove in the first place. So, if end pointer, take away start pointer, less than 2. So we take away end pointer and start pointer, and if it's less than 2, so you could have done it like this, I guess. Result equals end pointer, take away start pointer, if result is less than 2. Now, think of it like this. If we've got our end pointer at 1 and our start pointer is at 0, that means we've only got one item left. If we've got one item left, we can't do remove. We can't do remove because it should take out 2 items. So that's what we're checking for here. So we return a little message saying no items, start pointer, end pointer. Else. So we know that we're returning 3 things here. We've got a message, so we'll do MSG for message, start pointer, end pointer. So we need to get value 1 equals QData, start pointer. We then want start pointer to equal start pointer plus 1. We then want to get value 2 equals QData start pointer. Oops. So we now got the first 2 values in our queue. Boom and boom. Just by incrementing the start pointer. And then we're going to concatenate. Now, does it say anything about us having to actually remove it though? Yeah, it does. So, what I'm going to do is, let's just return first. Return. I'm going to put in brackets here, value 1 plus value 2. No plus. This is our message. Start pointer, end pointer. I could have put this into a variable first, like temp, and then just return temp, so I could have done it like this. That's fine. So now I'm going to make QData. Well, actually, we should have done it here. So QData start pointer equals empty because we're moving it, and QData start pointer equals empty. So now we removed it. So if I run it now, file name is test.txt. Queue is full. I need to print the message. Okay, the reason why it does this is because I didn't get rid of the slash ends. So let's put it onto 2 lines. So if I go all the way back and get rid of the slash ends, it would have a space here and combine it. So there we go. This is it. So if I was to tidy these up right now, we would have the main code. We would have our onQ. We would have our read file, where it goes through 1 line at a time and puts it into onQ. That is why I use read line and not read lines, plural. With our accept down here, where a flag equals true. Remember, flag comes from onQ. And returning always the end pointer or if it's changed the start pointer, we have to return the start pointer as well. I'll remove. Pretty simple. And our main code.